Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, real board-certified criminal defense lawyer. I am board-certified by the National Board of Trial Advocacy and by the Minnesota State Bar Association as a criminal trial specialist and a criminal law specialist. Why is that important? It's important because when I analyze something, it's with 25 years of trial experience, okay? And that means I've experienced all kinds of different trials, white collar, all the way through murder one. So today we're reacting to Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate's appeal for detention was rejected by the judge today. And let's talk a little bit about this case. But before we do, this is brought to you by eSign.com. eSign.com. Let's say you're an international human rights lawyer and you get contacted by Andrew Tate and he's in jail, you're over here, and you have to have him sign a retainer agreement. Well, you send it over to the jail, e-sign it. E-sign is an excellent way to sign documents remotely and get business done fast. 3 signatures a month. Download the app, and it's an awesome way for you to do business remotely. Now, Mr. Tate added Tina Glandian to his legal team. I told you this was going to happen. I said he's not happy with his current situation, so he's going to try to do whatever he can to get like a rat in a cage because he's panicky, and you got to get out of there, right? Now, let's just talk about this a little bit. Now, Andrew Tate has not been charged with a crime yet. He's on preventative detention, basically, because they thought he was going to run. And we don't have that here in the United States. So you get brought into court, or you get arrested. Within 36 hours, they have to bring you in front of a judge. Okay, in some states it's 48, but mostly they have to bring you in before a judge within 36 to 48 hours. Once they bring you in, the judge has to do one of two things. You have to be charged with a crime and then offered conditions of release. Unless it's federal, and there are certain kinds of federal crimes, and certain states favor detention on certain crimes. But you're at least charged so you can start defending yourself. So, as you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Mr. Tate, but you know what I'm not a big fan of? I'm not a big fan of preventative detention. So they extended it another 30 days. So that's 60 days he's being held in jail without bail and without even being charged with a crime. I think that's wrong. I absolutely think that's wrong. So he's brought this Tina Glandian, who's an international human rights lawyer, I guess. She rose to fame with Mike Tyson and Chris Brown, a couple others. So they have appealed the last detention order from the judge, and it was just denied today. So where are we at with so let's just kind of recap what's happened to Mr. Tate. So the two of them, the two Tate brothers and the two ladies, were arrested in their Bucharest home on December 29th. So that gives you kind of a time frame about where he's at. So the next day, the court made a ruling on December 30th that they are in detention. So they appealed by January 10th, that first order of detention. Well, then on January 15th, they took all of his luxury cars. Then the judge extends their detention on January 20th, and then today the judge denied the appeal. One of the rationales the judge gave for denying the appeal was a systematic psychological control and threats of constant physical abuse of these ladies. The judge isn't just making that up. The judge is using the information he gets from the prosecutor to make that determination. He should be charged by now. He should have been offered some bail. And if he wasn't offered bail, if they were decided to detain him, like they can do in the federal system for sure, then you still have the right to have a detention hearing and to try to overcome that presumptive detention. But he's not been offered that. So, despite whatever I like or dislike, I don't like the way he's being treated. I don't like the fact that his natural human rights, the rights that we take for granted in this country, because you have a right to bail, you have a right to have speedy proceedings, you have the right to be brought in front of a judge and face your accuser. You have all these different rights, and it doesn't seem like he's getting those rights observed, and that's one of the reasons that he brought this other. This Tina in. This Tina Glandian, she represented Mike Tyson and Chris Brown, and she specializes in international human rights. So it probably is a good idea to bring her in, but it didn't help. She alleged that outside pressures had an impact of the case, but she didn't say what those outside pressures were, and she indicated that the system has failed. She uses those kind of grandiose, but I think she's right, though, in all honesty. So Tina Glandian is bringing a different approach, and she's talking about, more on the grand scale of where Romania is in the grand scheme of things. So, like I said, in the United States and other countries, you're afforded certain rights, and we take those rights for granted, and those rights but they're the bedrock of our criminal justice system, and they're the bedrock of, England's criminal justice system and some of the other modern Western nations. So what she's doing, she's talking about the outside pressures, but she's also talking about, how Romania is part of the EU and they're trying to get into the fold, but they're not really having the same criminal rights that a defendant is supposed to have, or they're not observing the rights that a criminal defendant is supposed to have. One of the things that the judge used, he said, the capacity of the defendants to exercise permanent psychological control over the victims, including by resorting to constant acts of violence. So the judge has ordered that the detention is extended to February 27th. So that's almost 60 days. Almost 60 days without being charged. I just, I suppose the argument is that if he's out, he can destroy evidence, he can manipulate witnesses, that kind of thing. But we don't do it like that. It's not vanilla sky. We don't do this preventative detention stuff. We just don't do it like that. When you look at the complexity of what they're dealing with, it is a big case. No matter how you slice it, you've got all kinds of different aspects to it. You've got sex trafficking, you've got sexual assault type allegations, probably some tax evasion type stuff, money laundering, and then you've got his own statements where he says he's in with kind of the mafia of Romania. So we don't know exactly what they know, but we do know that the judge has it in his head that there's a systematic control of these women, and it's focused on violence to control them. So with that said, let's look to the February 27th date and see what happens then. The Romanian authorities have said that they can ask for up to 180 days. So I can't imagine being held for 6 months without charges. So for those of you who are Andrew Tate fans, and I know there are a lot of you out there, I agree with you that this is an outrage that he has not been charged yet and that he has not been afforded any kind of bail argument. The judge has reviewed his detention, but hasn't really offered him any kind of relief. And so those are the rights that we are used to. Those are the rights that we have taken for granted. Those are the bedrock principles of our criminal justice system. You're guilty only after proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, in front of a jury. Otherwise, you're presumed innocent. And I don't think he's getting that presumption. So this has just been my quick reaction to the recent news that Andrew Tate is being held. He's being held until February 27th. They extended it another month, and he's been denied his appeal. So we'll keep following it and give it to you straight. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and give a shout out to Jaylap and Percy Mack, because that's our intro and our outro. They're the two nicest guys on the planet. And guess what? By the time we get to 1 million, we're going to have a show in Vegas with Percy Mack and Jaylap. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?